Alright everyone, we got to talk about what Trump is doing, which he's joined on to a Floridian class action lawsuit. Because keep in mind, Florida has now officially at the state level decided to legally go after big tech firms if they ban political figures that are based within Florida. Trump is a resident of Florida. Now, he switched residences from New York, probably to skirt the tax rate more than anything else at this point, which is why New York is trying to sue his holdings. They're trying to recoup what's going to be a massive fiscal loss because they're driving every rich person out of the state of New York. There's a backstory that has nothing, by the way, to do even with political intrigue with regards to New York's situation. Just wait and see. Anyway, Trump has joined on to this lawsuit because, of course, he's a potential class action plaintiff. The law in Florida states that the big tech sites will be sued if they are banning people for without the realm of things like illegal behavior, obscenity, and stuff. So for like political opinions and stuff, if they're within public policy. Trump, when banned, was the sitting president of the United States. He's still a public figure. He's potentially going to run for office in the future. You've got others examples. A Loomer, for example, who ran within the Mar-a-Lago zone district, had been abused by big tech firms while an actual recognized candidate for a congressional position. This is a direct interference in the U.S. political system by billionaires. This is way beyond them influencing things indirectly through limitless campaign donations, taking advantage of Citizens United's various loopholes. For instance, you can Bill Gates can only give $2 grand to any particular candidate, but he can give $2 million to the state DNC or RNC or something, and with a wink and a nudge, some third party suggests where that money should probably go to. This is what the Democrats were doing in the election before last. This was revealed by Project Veritas. They just use a middleman consulting firm, and it allows them to communicate directly with PACs and with state party apparatuses on a level that would otherwise violate campaign finance law. This is why Ilhan Omar funneled $2.5 million into her own husband's business, former adultery partner's business, after cheating on her husband while campaigning. She was able to do that because it's a political consulting firm. He can just say, well, no, this money isn't going to me. It's just going into my business that pays me. This is not really technically legal, but of course, when you're in Congress, again, the law is like a spider's web or an ass. The flies get caught, the wasps go free. Billionaires do not have the right to police others' speech, to shut down the public square to other people. I think the Florida law doesn't go far enough, because specifically it only fixates on people that are within the realm of politics. So Trump is president at the time, other potential plaintiffs. You were running for the mayor's office, you were running for Congress or something, and your Facebook account was banned. Your Twitter handle was suspended. Google kicked you off of your email, kept you from using your email lists. There are other tech sites that have done this sort of shit too. MailChimp is one of the big ones. Cloudflare has occasionally cut sites loose. And this shouldn't be happening. Because the internet, as the modern means of communication, is fundamentally where people communicate in the most effective modern way, it would be like saying, to people on the right, they should really be making this argument too, that the Second Amendment only applies to like old-style muskets or something like that, because, well, that was what they had back then. Well, no, it applies to weapons that were made after the 1770s. Likewise, that concept of free speech and open communication, which is, by the way, openly alluded to still by the Silicon Valley giants. Jack Dorsey going after Nigeria for banning Twitter. Well, everyone has a right to the free and open internet that we ban people off of consistently and constantly for their political views, by the way. What you have is that we don't use manual wooden printing presses and billets anymore. We don't sit, well, generally, on the street corner and shout at people, because it wouldn't be a meaningful and effective form of communication compared to using the internet. These sites are given wide-reaching protections under 230 and other auspices, specifically because initially it wasn't possible for them to police user behavior. There were too many people using the sites. That's why the concept of a platform versus a publisher even existed in the first place. What big tech has done is decided they want the protections of a platform, which they're beginning to lose because of this, which, by the way, they're actually happy about. I'm almost thinking they're forcing this to occur to tear apart 230, while acting fundamentally as publishers of information by picking and choosing which opinions people are capable of hearing. Sometimes it's direct. It's in this lawsuit's case, it's people being banned. In other cases, it's just algorithms. YouTube has shut down 99% of independent news and political commentary spread on YouTube simply because of their algorithms, because they use affirmative action now to push MSNBC and CNN and the Young Turds and other lamestream yesteryear content. Well, it's a de facto censorship. It's a de facto discrimination. There's a lawsuit, I think it's still ongoing, where a bunch of black creators were saying that the algorithms disfavored them explicitly through some facial recognition quirk. It's possible, by the way. I wouldn't put it past them. There's a reason why Google is very, very reluctant to show people its code, so to speak. Facebook explicitly engages in not only highly censorious, potentially illegal behavior, but desperate violations of the right to privacy, literally selling user data to the Chinese, for instance, and anti-competitive behavior, certainly. Twitter, the same. Google, certainly. I'm surprised that others aren't named in this lawsuit. Apple, quite clearly, is part of the smartphone duopoly with Google, arguably, with the App Store blatantly discriminating against certain political and religious ideologies. I'd think that'd be cut and dry. The problem is, and this is why I expect that while this suit could lead to finally solving this problem, I don't expect this particular legal suit to hold any weight, even though the state of Florida can potentially sue these sites. Keep in mind that these sites control parts of Congress. They have bought off most of the Democrats, some of the rhino Republicans. They contribute enormous amounts of money because they're able to do so. And so people in Congress are going to be reluctant to hardball them. We've seen this. I mean, the writing's on the wall already. When they call in Dorsey, or especially Zuckerberg, or any of these others, they never put them under oath. They let them straight up lie. You could do live fact-checking. You could just get a bunch of content creators to live fact-check these people and submit tips to Congress in virtually real time and catch Zuckerberg especially lying 5 or 6 times per congressional testimony hearing. You could easily do that. But they're never going to actually hold them to account. The Democrats come out and softball these people. Some of the Republicans do the same. Those that hardball them then do a news conference, talk about how much they love free speech and how it's under assault, and then they go back to doing nothing. This is actually meaningful, but I don't expect this particular move to be... This is basically the first pebble in in a rock slide or something like that, or the first snowball that's going to cause an avalanche. But it's going to take time. Ultimately, it's going to require individual activism and support of new tech. Competition will solve the problem more than anything the government can do, because the government caused the problem to begin with by not giving 230 any teeth. Congress caused this problem. Government. This is why when people sell out, so-called free speech advocates sell out and say, well, no, but we need to have the government do something about this because the free market can't fix it. No, the free market had already created the internet. The government came in and caused the problem through its ineptitude, because people in government usually are 20, 30 years older than median and don't understand technology. People who didn't understand technology were essentially just taking tips and so forth from big tech, which told them how to solve the problem. Now, here's our idea for 230. This will allow us to keep platforming people without getting sued the pants off of us for user content. Oh, says Congress, that sounds good, but they never thought of the possibility that there would come a future 10 years later in which 230 would become vestigial because they could police effectively on-site behavior, and they would misuse that gray area, that gray status area that they're in, to abuse users for political reasons. And it's not, by the way, some people frame it as censorship of conservatives. That's the same stupidity that we heard about the Lois Lerner IRS scandal under Obama. Well, they're targeting conservative groups and not letting them become nonprofits. They were targeting leftoid groups too. They're doing the same now, just so that we're aware. Leftists are being targeted too. It's anyone outside of the neoliberal mainstream, because that's where all of the elites are. All they do is pay lip service to the left or to the right. At the end of the day, they're a bunch of goddamn fucking grifters. That's about all. Peace out.